Hello YouTube, Top Notch Sports back once again, and I want to make this video another one on the NFL. This is a bunch in a row now, of course, and I want to dedicate this video to how we measure championship teams in the NFL, because there's a lot of especially being preseason, a lot of discrepancy of who's a contender, who's a pretender, who can make the playoffs but can't win it all. There's a lot of discrepancy towards that. So I want to give my aspects of what a real championship team should have, and I think it could be proven through the recent champions. Okay, so let's get right into it. Number one, and I think this is very self-explanatory to say the least, is a quarterback. It's a quarterback-driven league. Any of the elite quarterbacks, which to me there's I would say 5 or 6 of them, and one, Joe Flacco, who I think is not elite yet, but a very good one, and I'd say he's 7. So any of those guys are on your team, you can win the Super Bowl. Or, guys that are very good quarterbacks that are playing well at the time, like Colin Kaepernick. I don't consider an elite quarterback by any measure, but he played elite during the playoffs. But we'll see what he brings to the table next year. But you have to have a quarterback that's capable of making plays by themselves, making other guys better. And then right hand in hand with the quarterback is the wide receivers. You really got to have guys who can take pressure off the quarterback and make plays by themselves, like I just alluded to with the quarterback. Guys that, can bail the quarterback out at times, because the quarterback has extra scrutiny, extra pressure, better defenses, better game planning by the opposing teams, now in the playoffs. Just better competition in general. You have to have wide receivers that can make plays by their own, exploit the secondary, run under that ball, go up and catch that ball, yards after the catch. So, they got to help out their quarterback. I think this is prevalent with the Ravens at times last year. As well as Joe Flacco played, he had the guys that could make plays for him. He had Anquan Bolden, who he could throw the ball up to. Torrey Smith, guys like that. And that's not just Joe Flacco. I'm not saying he's the only one. Eli Manning had it the year before. Big Ben had his guys. Tom Brady's had his guys. Aaron Rodgers had a great core of receivers. Everybody needs receivers. Every quarterback, you have to have receivers. And all these guys who have won the Super Bowls have had the capable receivers. Offensive and defensive lines. This is important to me. Just starting, with the offensive lines, you have to keep your quarterback upright. I'm not saying you have to have this elite offensive line, but you have to at least have, an offensive line that's capable of keeping your quarterback upright, and that at least at times allows you to run the football, but particularly one that can protect the quarterback's blind side, and one that's not, doesn't have the quarterback under pressure every single play, and that can give him some time to throw that solid 3 or 4 seconds, for guys to have the chance to get open, and for him to, read the defense and make the throw. And then, on the flip side of that, the defensive line. I think this is, people don't mention this enough. I think you really need a defensive line, a front 4 that can penetrate, whether it's stopping the run, or capability to stop the run, or making that quarterback, force him into decisions he doesn't want to make, get there quicker than the average time. Because, it's a quarterback league, so if that quarterback is having difficulty and getting pressured by a defensive line, the better chance you have to win the football game, right? It's common sense. Okay, so back to defense. Me, again, I especially go with the front 4. I really look at what the New York Giants did. They won 2 Super Bowls. I look at the New York Giants, of course. I look at the Ravens last year. The Ravens, they are a 3-4 scheme, so front 4, maybe the front 7. You got to have those guys that are able to get after the quarterback. They don't have to be putting him in the turf every single play, but they have to be able to get after the quarterback. You saw this with the Ravens last year. They're able to get after the quarterback. And the team that they played, the San Francisco 49ers. Saw it with the Giants the year before. The Packers, when they had their Super Bowl, they had a good defense. They had guys like A.J. Hawk, Colin Jenkins, B.J. Raji, Clay Matthews that can all get after the quarterback. They don't have that now. That's why they haven't went to the big game. The Steelers, when they won their Super Bowl, of course, you can't neglect them. They were able to get after the quarterback. They were, again, a 3-4 scheme, but that front seven was able to pressure the quarterback. It's a common thing. I think people miss it, but you could have all the cover guys you want, the big hitting safeties, but if you can't get to the quarterback, that's all out the window. That's just, I don't even think that's opinion. I think that's fact at this rate. So I think that's a big aspect of defense. You got to have at least a capable defense. You don't have to have this elite defense, but a capable defense. Most of the teams that win have good defenses, or their defenses are playing well, very well at the time. So then I'm going to go with, I probably should have mentioned this a little bit earlier, but a leader or leaders of the football team. That's another thing. Just to, go through the other teams. Ravens, we don't even have to, rhetorical question. Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, they had their leaders. Terrell Suggs. Giants the year before, Eli Manning, Justin Tuck. The year before the Giants was the Packers. We know that. Aaron Rodgers, Greg Jennings, Clay Matthews, Donald Driver. Guys like that are leaders of that football team. The Packers, we'll look at, the Saints. They had Drew Brees. He's a great leader. And, other leaders of that defense like a Jonathan Vilma. Steelers, Big Ben, Troy Polamalu, other guys like James Harrison, Lamar Woodley, James Farrier, Ryan Clark. They have a lot of leaders on that football team. Hines Ward was a leader. Steelers, and then the Giants back into, I'm just going through the more recent champions. When they won that first Super Bowl, Eli was emerging as a leader. Michael Strahan and guys like that. Monty Toomer. So, that's all those teams. You need a leader or leaders, especially in football when, it's a two-side game. You got the defense, you got the offense. Then I'm going to go with depth. I don't think you need crazy depth. Like, I'm not saying you have to have 4 great players for every position, but you have to have guys, at the very least, role players who can come in the game, give your starters, a little bit of rest, and, do the job. They don't have to be, game changers by any means, but they have to be guys that can go in and contribute in a positive way. The Ravens, they had Ladarius Webb go down. Okay, so that, they had other corners that could go in and play. Justin Smith went down for a while for the 49ers, but they have those other 4 linebackers that can get to the quarterback. Depth. You got to have guys that can go in. The Patriots have always been a good example of this. Next man up. Or another running back that could come in on 3rd down and catch the ball or protect the quarterback's blind side. Other wide receivers that, are good in the red zone, 3rd down, or maybe they're just deep threats. They might not be every down guys. A tight end, one that can catch, one that can block, a run blocking offensive lineman, a pass blocking offensive lineman, a defensive lineman that can stop the run, a defensive lineman that can, go in and pressure the quarterback. You need depth. You got to have guys that can perform certain roles, and then also if you sustain an injury, you have to have guys that can go in and, do the job. So I think you have to have good players on your team in terms of depth. And then the last one is a coach. I don't think you have to have this phenomenal, fantastic X and O's coach who's a great motivator. I think you have to have a coach that's capable, who at least is respected by his players. Players want to play for him. Guys like that. Tom Coughlin of the New York Giants. He has huge respect by his players. Harbaugh last year. Mike McCarthy. Mike Tomlin. Sean Payton. These are all guys that are mentioned as, top-tier head coaches. So, again, I don't think you have to have a top-tier coach, but at least as long as the players, have respect for him, they want to play for the guy. And that has been seen by the Super Bowl champions of the recent years. So I think that's it. So what do championship NFL teams need to have to win a championship? They have a quarterback, wide receivers who can make a play for him, lines on both sides, a defense, particularly a front 4 or front 7, depending on their scheme, leadership, depth, and a coach who the guys want to play for. So, that's how I measure whether a team is championship ready or not. So also in the comment section, feel free to give me teams that you want me to analyze. Like say the Seahawks, if you want me to analyze if they can win the championship and take the next step forward. If the 49ers can get back there, if the Ravens can get back there, if a team like the Vikings can take the next step, can the Packers get back to the Super Bowl, which they haven't been into? Can the Patriots, I made a video on this, but are they going to be in the running again? Can the Steelers make another run? Like teams like that, you can always, give me your thoughts in the comment section, and I could definitely do some teams and, analyze whether they can win or not. So thank you for watching.